Owning rental property is sold as passive income, but if you've ever managed one, you know it's anything but passive. Tenants don't call on your schedule. Toilets don't leak when it's convenient. Vacancies don't line up with your calendar. What you thought would be mailbox money can turn into a second job fast. The truth is, property management requires constant attention, constant problem solving, and constant coordination. Unless you put systems in place, the property ends up running you instead of the other way around. That's why so many investors burn out after 1 or 2 rentals. They didn't expect the day-to-day grind. Alpine Property Management. Kansas City was built to solve that problem. We take the weight of operations off your shoulders so you can actually treat your rentals like investments instead of a job. Think about the process. Leasing alone means marketing the property, taking calls, scheduling showings, running background checks, drafting leases, and collecting deposits. That's weeks of effort just to get a tenant in the door. Then come inspections, move-in walkthroughs, and constant calls for repairs. Add accounting, rent collection, and tracking late payments, and suddenly your passive income looks like another career. With Alpine, all of that gets streamlined under one roof. We handle the marketing, the showings, the screening, and the lease signing. We do the inspections, coordinate maintenance, and manage communication with tenants. You don't get the 10 p.m. texts, you get the monthly report. That's what passive is supposed to look like. The other side most investors don't think about is compliance. Landlord-tenant laws in Kansas City are strict and change often. One misstep with notices, deposits, or evictions can put you in court. That risk doesn't go away just because you're small. In fact, it's usually worse for smaller landlords because they don't have the time or knowledge to keep up with every rule. At Alpine, we do. We know the local laws, we keep everything in compliance, and we protect you from the expensive mistakes that wreck portfolios. Legal issues don't just cost money, they eat up your time and energy. That's not passive, that's a liability. Scaling is another test. 1 rental is work, 3 is heavy, 10 can bury you if you don't have help. Every property adds more vendors, more tenants, more repairs, more rent to collect, more chances for things to go sideways. Without a system, growth is chaos. That's why people tap out and stop buying. With Alpine, the system is already built. We manage your properties as a portfolio, not just individual houses. That means consolidated reporting, streamlined communication, and the ability to scale without multiplying your headaches. You want to think like an investor, not a landlord. We make that possible. Turnover is one of the biggest killers of cash flow. Every time a tenant leaves, you're covering cleaning, repairs, utilities, and lost rent. Keep tenants longer, and your portfolio makes more money. But keeping tenants takes work, responding quickly, maintaining properties, solving problems before they grow. That's not passive, that's active. At Alpine, we focus on tenant satisfaction to keep good renters long-term. When people renew, you avoid downtime. You avoid costs. That's where efficiency shows up. In stable cash flow, not constant resets. The reality is, property management will never be passive if you're doing it yourself. The calls, the emergencies, the laws, the vendors, they don't stop. The only way it becomes passive is if someone else takes the weight. Someone who knows the business, someone who has the systems. That's what Alpine Property Management Kansas City does. We don't just collect rent, we create stability. We don't just fix problems, we prevent them. We don't just manage houses, we streamline portfolios so they can grow. And if you've got a property that's nothing but problems, sometimes the best management is an exit. That's why Alpine Property Management Kansas City also buys houses. We purchase properties directly from owners, as is, no agents, no showings, no repairs required. If you've got a rental that doesn't fit your goals anymore, we'll take it off your plate and give you a clean break. It's fast, it's simple, and it lets you move on to better investments without dragging dead weight behind you. If you're tired of property management running your life, it's time to make a change. Like, share, and subscribe if this video gave you a clearer picture of what passive really means. And when you are ready to treat your investments like investments instead of another job, call Alpine Property Management, Kansas City. We'll make sure your portfolio works for you, not the other way around.